Hey, I am so excited to talk with you. By the way, bravo. This
Thank
movie,
you.
I watched it with my mom,
Oh my
and she and
gosh.
I both were just in awe of what you pulled off with this.
That's really nice of you.
Seriously. I'm gonna date myself, but back in the day, I used to watch like Dawson's Creek and
Oh
like the
yeah.
80s. So I am automatically drawn into these like dramatic, I guess, well, not high school, just dramatic stories,
Yeah.
that kind of fall in that vein. So I really enjoyed this. But what I got to give you props on is that you not only told a story like that, but you
hmm
really made it modern and you really made it authentic. So kudos to you on that. What did
Thank
you
you.
draw on for inspiration to write this story?
Yeah, I went to boarding school for high school, so part of it was just knowing that the boarding school experience is a little bit odd to people who haven't gone through it, and putting those details into the world. But it's also like, have you seen this movie Brick by Ryan Johnson?
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that movie in high school. And so I wanted to do something that felt a little bit serious. I wanted to do something that felt like it was taking teenagers seriously. And then also just my love of movies like The Godfather are really obvious influences for me. But just wanting to do all of that and set it within this teenage world, and one that feels a little bit disconnected from the rest of society.
The girls told me, another part that made this story just different and real was the fact that these students are in boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
You're not at home. You're living
Right.
independently.
Yeah.
And no, but when you're high school really does shape your life. And I told the girls
Mm,
earlier, I was like, these are life experiences that you will never forget. And
mm.
you're still learning about dealing with others and you're still trying to figure your way in the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
But going to boarding school, I didn't. I grew up in public school. That
Nice.
has to be an added pressure. Was that something that was real for you when you were growing up?
Yeah, it felt really freeing at times because you had this pseudo independence. I mean, you still had to answer to your teachers and your dorm mothers and stuff like that, but you weren't necessarily having to tell your parents everything you were doing and everyone you were seeing, which for me felt like so much freedom. But that said, you also had to make sure that you got up and went to class and like ate properly and did your laundry and just not only those like regular everyday life things, but you also had to navigate, if you were in a weird social situation with your friends, it's not as though you could leave and go home at the end of the day. It's not as though you could unload and sort of disconnect from school. School is your whole life. Everything is there. Everyone is there all together. So it felt like a pressure cooker most of the time. And I think that that's why this world within the film where everything is so serious and stakes are so high felt really familiar to me because that's what it felt like living on campus.
How did you come up with the different concepts for the different factions?
Mm-hmm.
The group at school. No, because they're
Yeah.
really clever. The
Yeah,
Bobby.
it was fun.
Uh,
I love the Bobby. I was a total Bobby in high school. But
okay.
yeah, that felt really natural because cliques are normal. Like we all have cliques, and even if we didn't feel like we were a part of a clique, we still had our crew. Like we have our groups. I feel like humans very naturally fall into factions. It's just that the factions at this school, they have ledgers and they make money and they've learned how to monetize their skills, if we could say that. But it felt really normal to say, okay, if you have a school, then what are the things that students could reasonably monetize and then go from there. So things like cheating were really easy to come up with because that is a tale as old as time. As long as there's been a school, there's been somebody figuring out how to finesse the academics of it. So it felt like just taking the things that students already do and organizing it a little bit more.
I was part theater, drama, and student politics. So that
Oh,
was
nice.
quite a combination right there. I still kind
Yeah,
of use both skills to this date. I can't believe. So, is true or false? This is your first full feature film.
it is. Yeah.
Well, wow. What did you learn? I mean, that's quite an achievement, and you did an amazing job. What did you learn from this experience?
Um, the biggest thing that I learned is that well, the biggest thing that I learned, quite honestly, is why I love filmmaking, which is good. But it's that I learned that filmmaking is genuinely, when it's at its really best, like its most magical feeling moment, or when it's at its most magical feeling, when it's at its most talented, when it's at its deepest, I think that that's when you're collaborating with others. So that's the biggest thing that I learned, is that without collaboration, filmmaking is not for me. It's just not something that I'm interested in. But it's about that collaboration. It's about working with the actors to make the characters sound more real, to make them feel more alive. It's about working with the DP, with the production designer, with costume, all of these things that go into telling a story in a way that feels, in a way that feels most alive, makes it feel the fullest. It all comes from collaboration. And so that's the biggest thing that I learned. And I think that it's the thing that it's the thing that makes me miss directing right now, is that collaboration.
You are so energetic. You're so positive. I love your spirit. I wish we
Thank
could
you.
do this in person. I know I'm going to interview you in person one day.
Heck
So
yeah.
I just thought of this question. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers, particularly young girls that are looking at you right now and saying, hey, if she can do this and do great at this, so can I? Because you are a role model.
That's real. My biggest piece of advice would be to learn how to listen to your gut and learn how to trust your gut, because there's going to be a lot of people who will tell you that simply by virtue of them having done this for a longer time than you, they know more than you. And those things are not always true. You know the story that you want to tell. Trust that. Trust your gut. That's my biggest piece of advice.
No, that's awesome. Our producer, John Stenval, backstage as well, he wants to be a filmmaker. So that was great
Nice.
advice.
Trust your gut. Yeah.
I love that. I love hearing that. All right, two more things, and I promise we'll be done. But I have so
Yeah.
much to go over with you. Number one, the music in this film is
Yeah.
awesome.
It's so good. I'm really glad you liked it. Yeah. We worked with these great, well, first of all, our composer, Oscar, is just amazing. And then we also had great music supervisors, but it's just, music is so important to the film. I think because it was so important to the making of the film. Like whenever I'm writing, I always start out with a playlist, and then I just add anything that makes me so much as vaguely think of a character or a detail of that world. I'll add that song to the playlist, and then I'll share that playlist with all the actors and all the crew, and we'll all just listen to it together and just sort of exist together inside this musical world. So that's probably why we focused on music in it.
If you can mesh some really cool beats with Bing Crosby, which you did, I'm like, wow, she did it. And my last question for you today is,
sorry.
as people,
Fire alarm started going
it's
off.
okay. It's okay. You're good.
Ah!
Hey, it's real.
Oh my gosh.
No problem.
My husband is cooking banana bread. But now I'm outside.
No, you know what? That's what makes this so real. It really does. This experience is awesome.
This is
How are you
amazing.
enjoying? Well, I don't know if the word is enjoying, but how are you coping with the quarantine?
Well, we're inside, which is fine. I think we're doing our best. I'm really frazzled by this fire alarm going on, but we're staying inside, and then just mostly trying to support people who can't stay inside and who are essential workers, and doing our part from within doors. Yeah, and I'm writing a lot, which I wasn't expecting to be doing, but I'm glad that I am. So
You're so real. I love that about you.
I try to
Listen,
be exactly as I am.
No, and believe me, I'm the same way, and I just love that about you. Seriously, congratulations on a great job. We really enjoyed this film. I know you're excited for the world to see it now, and I know it was a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into this. I can tell, and fire alarms, and congratulations to you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for talking. Sorry about the fire alarm.
No, it's awesome. The other day, my dog started barking during a TV hit. It's cool.
Oh, there you go. All right. Stay safe out there. Bye. Bye-bye.